Hello friends, welcome again to the tetrahedron chemistry classes. So guys, in today's class I am going to discuss the transition metal alkene complexes, which is my lecture number 17th on transition metal organometallic chemistry. Okay, and in my last lecture I have completed the transition metal alkyne complexes. Okay, so what are the transition metal alkene complexes? These are those complexes in which your alkene, that is alkene doubly bonded compound, would be present as a ligand and it would be directly connected to the metal. Okay, so we can take some of the examples with synthesis, along synthesis, right? So how we can synthesize these compounds? Synthesis. Okay, say for example you are having this cobaltocene. This is your cyclopentadienyl anion, and cobalt is sandwiched in between two 5-membered rings. Okay, and when this reacts with your potassium along with your C2H4, C2H4 is your CH2 double bond CH2, okay, alkene. So it will result in a compound, right? So cobalt here, and you see here alkene and another alkene. So you can write it as CH2, CH2, CH2 and CH2, okay, and a 5-membered this ring, okay. And of course the process will eliminate a salt which contains anion of your cyclopentadienyl anion and your potassium ion, okay. So you can see here in that case this cobalt is connected to this alkene system. Here also it is connected to the alkene system, okay, and in that case you can see here the hapticity of this cobalt, right, it is actually 2 because it is connected with both the carbons. Similarly here this cobalt is connected with both the carbons of your alkenes, and of course you can see the change in the oxidation state, since in that case if you see here cobalt is in plus 2 oxidation state and here it is in plus 1 oxidation state. So reduction is actually going on in that case. It is quite clear from here because you know this potassium actually provides electron. Alkali metal, it is the reducing agent, so actually it is a type of the reduction. So you can actually see this reaction as reduction also. So this is how you can prepare, and this compound, you know, this compound is the cobaltocene also, right. And similarly you may have another example. Say this was your synthesis number 1. Now you can have your synthesis number 2. You have various kinds of the reaction in this. Say for example again you are having this complex. Say this is 5-membered ring and cobalt is connected with 2 of the carbonyls here, and you are reacting this with cyclooctadiene. So you can draw the structure of the cyclooctadiene, okay, in that manner, and you can put double bond here. It is actually your cyclooctadiene, and if you boil this mixture in the xylene, say at 140 degrees centigrade, and this reaction will take the somewhere around 15 hours. So again it will result a complex in which your alkene, that is one alkene part of your cyclooctadiene, right, this will be present as a ligand, okay. So this is how you can draw it, just like that. And here you see this cobalt is connected with both the carbons, okay. So you see here hepaticity also changes. See in the earlier case you see here hepaticity, you can see this 5 and 5, it is connected with 5 carbon here and 5 carbon here, 10, but here you can see the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So hepaticity also changes. And similarly you can see, however, very sorry for my poor drawing, basically this cobalt is connected with both these carbons and this cobalt is also connected with both these carbons. This is how you can actually form these compounds, okay. So there are various methods by which you can synthesize these compounds, and one more example you can see here. Say reaction number 3, for example you are having this rhenium chloride RHCl3 and you are directly reacting with this alkene, okay. So what will happen, the dimerization would occur for this RHCl3 unit. So how the dimerization would occur, your rhenium here and another rhenium here, and 2 bridged chlorine are there in that way, and you see the alkene ligand, which now gets connected to the rhenium. So this is how you can prepare. So we can have the various kinds of the reactions, okay. And another way you can see here, so I can write it as reaction number 4. So you are having the pentacarbonyl iron and you are reacting this with diene, say this is butadiene, okay. This is butadiene, and if you do the reaction at 135 degree centigrade, okay, or you can say have another reagent also, and so what will happen actually, the carbon dioxide will eliminate from here, CO2, and this pentacarbonyl, see, since CO2 has removed from here, so what will happen in that case, you see, you will have this cyclodiene, this is iron, and of course your CO whole thrice, okay. So this is how you can prepare. Similarly, say you are having this, you are having this CP is cyclopentadienyl anion, and manganese is there, and of course 3 of the carbonyls are attached to it, and you are having this unsaturated aldehyde, okay. So CHO you can write over there, and if you do the photolysis of this one, that means if you shine light on this, so carbon monoxide will eliminate from here, and it will result in a complex that would have the coordinated alkene to the system, okay. This is how you can write in that manner, okay. So this is CHO. So this is how you can prepare. Similarly, you can see here, this is another example how you can prepare. See, this is a iridium complex, okay, and you are having this Buckminster fullerene, right, buckyball C60 molecule, and this C60 molecule you are having the 6-membered ring and your 5-membered ring, and of course this is aromatic and it is having the double bond. So what will happen, one of the double bond gets coordinated with the iridium, and this will form this complex. So your C60 molecule will also form this alkene complexes, okay. Now say you are having next say, okay, so these are the some of the examples. See, here platinum is coordinated with the C60, here palladium is coordinated, is platinum again, here you can see the platinum again here, this is sandwiched in ferrocene, right, substituted ferrocene it is also a substituted ferrocene. So these are the some of the examples. So these things actually you have to keep in mind. Now the very important thing, which is the heart of this alkene complexes, transition metal alkene complexes, that heart is the Jesse salts, ZEISES, Jesse salt. And say in your CSIR net examination, you previously you had already questions from this particular topic, and in the upcoming examination you will also have the question from this Jesse salt, okay. And this Jesse salt actually is prepared by the William James. I can write the name of the expert, William James, and actually he prepared this in 1827 actually, okay. So in that case you can see what he did actually. Say he took this platinum compound K2PT Cl4, and he refluxed this with ethanol, okay, reflux. And what he obtained in that case, he obtained a double salt type of compound in which your potassium chloride and your platinum chloride was present along with the solvent. So it is a solvated double salt. It is what? This is solvated double salt. I can write it as solvated double salt. So this was present as such, okay. But there was no clue at that time about the structure of this particular compound. See, it is only in 1950 actually when the structure of this particular compound has characterized, and this compound then in 1950 actually was known as pi complex of your ethylene, pi complex of ethylene. It's a very important compound, and then when this complex is actually, the structure was established, okay, then this would become actually this particular salt, potassium PTCl3 eta 2 C2H4 hydrated. Water was also present, and they were the yellow crystals. They were the yellow crystals. Okay. So in that case, you can see here hepaticity is 2. What is the meaning of the hepaticity 2? Both of the carbons of the alkene systems actually connected with the platinum. Okay, this was very important compound, right? So this alkene system in this gaseous reaction is believed to come from the dehydration of this alcohol, right? You know that when ethanol undergoes the dehydration, it will produce the alkene. So this ethanol actually produces that alkene, which gets coordinated with the platinum with the hepaticity of the 2. Okay. So now if it comes to the structure of the gaseous salt, it's very interesting. It's a square planar structure. Okay. So how you can draw the structure for this one? Say this is your platinum, okay, and this platinum is bonded with alkene here, and 2 of the hydrogens were attached with each of the carbon. One is beta and other is alpha. Okay. So in stereochemistry, you know the substituent which is above the plane, which is beta, and which is down the plane, it is alpha. So we are having the 2 hydrogens over there, and similarly you can see here again you are having these 2 hydrogens again, you can write as such, and trans to this doubly bond, this ethylene, trans to ethylene, you are having one chlorine, one Cl actually, right? See this alkene, actually this ethylene is basically a soft actually donor and very strong acceptor, so it exerts a very strong trans effect. So due to this is very strong trans effect of ethylene, this chlorine actually is exactly trans to the platinum, which is very important. Okay. And you see this this hydrogen actually, right, this particular hydrogens, they are slightly away from here actually, and if you see the 3D structure, then you will find actually this platinum system ligand actually is perpendicular to this doubly bonded system, but not exactly to the plane in the plane of the double bond. Okay. So if you want to look that structure more closely, so you see here this is your beta chlorine, so I can write it as Cl here, and again I can write it as Cl here. So this was the structure of the anion, right? So I can draw this like, say I can put negative charge over there. So this was your actually your gaseous salt, and it's a square planar system. Okay, it's a square planar system. Okay. The important thing is that you should remember that this part actually, right, this particular part is not actually in the same plane as same plane where your doubly bonded alkene is actually placed. It is actually perpendicular. Okay. So you see what you can do, you can Google the gaseous salt 3D structure, then you will come to know the structure of this one. So this is very important. Okay. So now you see here the next thing actually, see before going into the details of the alkene complexes, you should know the nature of this alkene ligand. So now I am going to discuss the nature of the alkene ligand, because it is very helpful in understanding the various questions actually, various related questions which have been asked in the previous year CSIR NET examination, as well as there is always a possibility that they may ask this question in the future also. So we will see the alkene as the ligand, ethylene as the ligand. How we can see here. So I can write ethylene as ligand, ethylene as ligand. Okay, I can write it like that. Say you know this is where say CH2 double bond CH2, you know both of the carbons are sp2 hybridized, so I can write sp2. So both carbons will have actually this unhybridized p orbital, which actually forms the pi bond. Okay. So if you draw the molecular orbitals of this ethylene molecule, so you can draw in that manner. Say this is one p, this is another p. Okay, and same phases actually are there. So it's a bonding molecular orbital, so they can interact, okay, and when this happens they results in the psi bonding, and this psi bonding actually is nothing but it is your pi bonding molecular orbital. Then you may have another combination, and in that combination you are having opposite phases to interact, so they interact in that manner. So it's a node here in the center, so it's a anti bonding, so you can write psi a for this one, and or you can place a star over there, okay, and then you can place it this bonding orbital in that manner, anti bonding orbital in that manner. You can write psi pi anti bonding here. Now you know in these two orbitals only two pi electrons are there. This double bonding, see, one is sigma, another is a double bond, that that pi bond, and that pi bond is actually having the 2 electron. And like your molecular or atomic orbitals, your molecular orbitals can also accommodate 2 electrons only. So whatever the 2 electrons were present, they come to the pi bonding molecular orbital. So basically this is your HOMO, highest occupied molecular orbital, and this is your LUMO, lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. Okay, now see, if you know this much of thing, then it is quite sufficient to understand the nature of this one. So what is the meaning of, say, what I told you, it's a soft donor, it's a soft donor and strong acceptor. This alkene system is what? It's a soft donor and strong acceptor. Why it is the strong acceptor? Say for example, you are having, say, your metal somewhere here, and you are having the metal's d orbital. I am not drawing all the d orbitals over there, but I am drawing only one, and this metal d orbital, say, having the electron pair. So this electron pair can be donated to this LUMO, lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. So it is accepting the ligand. When it is accepting the ligand, right, so it simply means it can see, because it is having this low lying energy, low lying anti-bonding molecular orbital, so it can accept the electron from the metal. So it is acting as the strong acceptor. Okay, now say for example, if you have metal again, I am drawing here, and say metal is having, say, this transition metal. So transition metal can also have the empty d orbital. So this electron actually can be donated to this metal also. Okay, but since these electrons are present on the bonding molecular orbital, their energy is very, very low. So the donation of such low energy electrons actually is not good. So however it is donated, but it is not a very, very good donor, as this electron belongs to the low energy molecular orbital. So this is how you can understand. One way it can donate electron density to the metal, it's a donor, strong donor, it's a soft donor, and other way it can accept the electron in the LUMO, so it's a strong acceptor. Now what would be the result actually? See, what would be the result? See guys, remember one very important particular point here. See, whenever you have these alkene complexes, say earlier you are having, say, in my last slide, say this is actually your salt, this is your Jesse's salt. So why actually this double bond is there? See, the sigma, the single bond which is actually present in that case is not enough actually to actually stabilize this particular complex or alkene complexes. So what can happen in that case? The pi back bonding is very, very important. So basically in that case you are having the two bonds. Say in the next slide you can see here. See, this donation is from the sigma bond, this acceptance actually is from the pi bond. So basically what I can write here, say this is sigma donation, it means a sigma bond, and it is actually pi back bonding. It is pi back bonding. Okay, and this thing and this thing, sigma donation and pi back donation, both are equally important to stabilize the transition metal alkene complexes, and this is known as the synergism or synergic effect. I hope you understand the synergic effect. Synergic effect means when two or more different kinds of the processes, they are interacting together and they are producing the net effect, and that net effect is actually greater than the individual effects which are operating individually. Okay, this is known as synergism or synergic effect. So due to this synergic effect, actually these complexes gets stabilized. So now it is very important to understand, whenever this actually pi bonding is strong, back bonding is strong, your complex would also be strong. And for effective back bonding, you must have electrons in your d orbitals. So what generally you can say here, you can say the metals actually which are having electrons in them, like d2 to d10 system, transition metals which are having these much of electron, actually they can form the stable complexes. This is something very, very important, right? So metal should be in the low oxidation state. That's why whenever you see these complexes, your metal either in 0 oxidation state or in 2. So either it is 2 or the 0. These actually forms these transition metal alkene complexes. If you understand these things, which is actually then that would be enough for you. Okay. Now you can see one more thing here in that case. That thing is what? Say in the previous slide, if I go back, okay, say this is your alkene system, right? This is double bond system, and see if you see the Jesse salt actually, right? So I can write here the carbon-carbon bond length. I am writing Cc bond length. See, in that case it is somewhere around 137 picometer. Okay, it is 137 picometer, while in free alkene, I am writing here free ethylene, that Cc bond length is actually shorter, somewhere around 133 picometer. So whenever these complexes, alkene complexes will form, lengthening of the carbon bond would take place. So why actually this bond actually lengthens, why the length increases, this is actually quite easy to understand. Okay, so how we can understand this thing? Say here you can see, say for example, what there are two reasons for this one. So I am writing two reasons here. So whatever I am explaining, you can find in the textbook also. Okay, so reason one is actually the back donation, metal to ligand pi back bonding. I am adding BB back bonding. Say this, see guys, this is very, very important to understand. See, what is the meaning of the back bonding? Your metal will donate the electron density to this anti-bonding molecular orbital. So it is quite obvious from the light of the molecular orbital theory, when electrons actually are accumulated in the anti-bonding molecular orbital, see, then this means the bond order decreases. See, in the, if you want to know here what is the bond order in that case, so what I can do, I can calculate the bond order of ethylene, right? That would be number of bonding electrons minus number of anti-bonding electrons divided by 2, that is 2 electrons are there in that case, okay, and 2 here. So 2 by 2, this one, right? So this is half of actually half of 2. So did I make any mistake? 2 electrons are there, 2 minus 0, okay, 1. However, see, there is carbon double bond carbon, but in the light of the pi molecule, in the pi bond cases, we are having one pi bond in that case. But the moment actually the electrons are accumulated, or say electrons are placed in the anti-bonding molecular orbital, so bond order decreases. And you know, see, bond order is inversely proportional to the bond length. You know, I can write it here, bond order is inversely proportional to the bond length. Okay, so when actually pi back bonding occurs, the electrons gets placed in this LUMO. Actually, by doing this, the bond order decreases. When bond order decreases, bond length actually increases. That's why in case of your this salt, right, here you can see here the carbon-carbon bond length is 137 picometer, while in the free ethylene it is 133 picometer. Okay, this is the one region actually. Okay, so whatever the metals are present, and if the metals are in the lower oxidation state, like in the Jesse salt where platinum is in +2 oxidation state, the electrons can accommodate in the anti-bonding interactions. And another way of explaining is that when anti-bonding interactions increases, it simply means the bonding interactions decreases, and when bonding interactions decreases, then length obviously increases. So first reason was this one. Then you can come for the second effect. So this was the pi bonding, and another effect is the sigma donation. Sigma donation. However, see, it is a poor donor, but you see when it will actually donates its electron, so the electrons actually are lost from the bonding orbitals. So when the electrons are lost from the bonding orbitals of the ethylene, that means the bond order again decreases. When the bond order decreases, simply the bond length increases. So these are the two reasons actually in which by which you can explain this one, and these things actually, and this is actually quite beautifully actually observed in the IR spectroscopy also. So see, if you see here, I can write here, say I can write free ethylene. I am writing free ethylene here, and here I am writing coordinated ethylene. I can write coordinated ethylene here. Okay, so in that case, in case of the free ethylene, it was 133 picometer. In that case, it is 137 picometer in the coordinated complexes. And when the bond length, and in that case, you see the stretching frequency, carbon stretching frequency is, I can write here nu cc. It is this one, and in that case, nu cc is slightly lower. It is 1516. Okay, why? Because in that case, bond order, see, again you can see here, since this is the larger bond, so it's a weak bond, it's a larger bond, it's a weak bond. So in that case, you can see it is having this stretching frequency of 1623. Okay, sorry, it is a smaller bond. What I am actually saying, it's a smaller bond. You see 133 picometer. Okay, when bond length, see, when bond length is smaller, it will require higher energy to stretch the bond, and when it will require the higher energy to stretch the bond, it means it will actually have this higher frequency. This I have explained already, and in my previous lectures also. And here you see the bond length is quite high, that means the bond is weak. When the bond is weak, it will require lower energy to stretch the bond. That's why this value is lower, which is 1516 centimeter inverse. This is how you can understand the things. Okay, and see for this actually, see what you can do, you can remember a very important thing here, or trick. Bond order is directly proportional to the IR stretching frequency. So this is a little trick. There is no mathematical meaning for that, but you can understand whenever the bond order is high, the stretching frequency would also be high, and in that case, bond order is high, I can write high bond order. In that case, I can write low bond order. This is how you can understand. Okay, so this is something very, very important which you need to understand. Now the another very important aspect for this one, bonding models of ethylene complexes. So I can write here models of ethylene metal bonding in transition metal alkene complexes. So basically guys, two models have been proposed. First model is model 1, I can write here, it is Dewar, Chert, Duncanson, Duncanson, Duncanson model, and second model is Metalla cyclopropane model. So these two models are there, but you see that the Dewar-Chert model is actually generally used, right? However, this metallocyclopropane models are also there. Model is also there in various complexes. So when we apply the different kinds of the model to understand the bonding, so there is clear-cut way to understand these things. So when we are going for the Dewar-Chert model, so it is applicable then your metal in high oxidation state. Okay. Metal in high oxidation state. Whenever your metal is in high oxidation state, then you will apply this particular formula, right? That is in Jessie's salt, because in Jessie's salt, you know, the platinum is in 2 in this oxidation state, okay? Or say you may have another metals also, like platinum, you may have the mercury complex also, mercury alkene complex in 2, you may have silver in 1, okay, and you may have the copper in 1. Say if they are forming the complexes with the alkene, so you will apply this Dewar-Chert-Duncanson model in that case, okay? And whenever this model here, in that case the pi bond is weak, pi back bonding is weak, pi back bonding is weak. So why the pi back bonding is weak? Because metal is already in the +2 or +1 oxidation state, that means it is electron deficient. When metal is electron deficient, how it can donate electron very effectively to the LUMO of the ethylene? That's why the back bonding is very low in that case. When the back bonding is low, so in that case CC bond length is high, okay, high, but it is CC bond length is actually in that case high when compared to the metallocyclopropane. This is something very important which you should know. And when you apply this particular metallocyclopropane, see, when you will apply this when metal in low oxidation state metal, low oxidation state metals are present, okay? That means, say like your platinum in 0, okay, and your nickel in 0 and your palladium in 0, right? So in that case, see, you quickly check the oxidation state of the metal in the alkene complexes, and whenever you are finding the 0 oxidation state, you straight away jump to the conclusion that okay, we have to apply this the metallocyclopropane in that case, right? And since in that case you see here metal is in 0 oxidation state, that means they are the electron rich, okay? And when your metals are electron rich, they can form very effective pi bonding. So in that case, strong pi back bonding is there, okay? When strong pi back bonding is there, your CC bond length, okay, CC bond length is higher than your complexes of Dewar-Chert-Duncanson model. So what actually it says that if you see the CC bond order, so I am writing ethylene, say here, okay? So in that case ethylene, then you are having Dewar-Chert-Duncanson complexes, then I am writing metallocyclopropane complexes. So in that case you see here lowest bond length would be there, say 133 picometer, and in that case somewhere around 137 picometer, and in that case say 143 picometer. So these are the examples actually, these are the bond length of particular example. This is something very important to understand, the very important thing actually, right? And remember one thing, when actually this goes in that manner, lowest for this one, okay, and highest for this one, this is for actually CC bond length, but if you want to know the metal carbon bond length, right, then it would be lowest for this one and highest for this one. That means for this one it would be higher, for this one it would be the lowest. So this go in the opposite manner. So I will explain these things with the help of the examples also. See, right now you can actually learn these things in that manner, but but if you have seen my carbonyl chemistry of organometallic compound, right? So in that case I have also explained the metal carbon bond length in the carbonyl compounds and carbon oxygen bond length in the carbonyl compounds. Okay, so those concepts are actually perfectly applied here also. Okay, so we can apply those concepts, but if for right now if you are not getting the things correctly, don't worry, I am coming back to the example. Okay, I'll come back to the example to explain the things actually. So this is something very, very important which you should know. Now, say in the next, some other features actually which you can note down. See, in that case actually, right, say I am writing here the point number 3. Here concept of Ampolong would be applied in case of the Dewar-Chet model. Dewar-Chet model. Okay, so Ampolong, you know, it's a German term which means reversal of polarity. Reversal of polarity. So what is the meaning of that? See, you can understand this thing in that manner. Say you are having this alkene, okay, and these are the hydrogens attached to it, and the electron which is present, they are donated to the metal in 2 oxidation state. When electrons are donated by this ligand to the metal, that means it is positively charged. Okay, it is positively charged. So that means these carbons are electrophilic in nature. When they are electrophilic in nature, what it means, the nucleophile can easily attack on them, right? See, in general what happens in the alkene, the characteristic reaction for alkene system is what? Electrophilic addition reaction. But in that case, due to this actually bonding, this sigma donation, this electron density actually depletes on the carbon, renders these carbons positively charged, and nucleophile can attack over it. So this is the reversal of polarity in that case. So whatever the chemical reactions or you will see for these alkene complexes, your nucleophile, that means negatively charged species, will attack on the carbon atom, right? This is something very, very important which you need to understand. And obvious reason is that, see, in that case you see metal see, in this particular model, Dewar-Chet model, in that case metal is actually the electron deficient. If the electron donation, sigma donation would occur from ethylene ligand to the metal d orbital, then effective pi bonding would not be occur. See, in the previous page I have already told you here, back bonding is quite weak in that case. Okay, when actually weak bonding is back bonding is very, very weak, what can happen? The loss of this electron density cannot compensated completely. That's why these carbons are positively charged and nucleophile can attack over it. This is something very, very important concept actually, which is very important to understand the reactions. Very important these things, right? So this is how you can understand the things. And now moving to this cyclopropane model or metallocyclopropane model. So in that case, you see what actually happens in that case. Your carbon actually rehybridized. Carbon rehybridized from sp2 to sp3. See, in the alkene, if I write CH2 and CH2, and if you form the metallocyclopropane thing, okay, so this is actually the single bond. So this is sp3 hybridized and this is sp2 hybridized. This is the reason actually, because this double bond, this hybridization is actually going from sp2 to sp3, more of the single bond type, and you know the single bond are actually always larger than the double bond. That's why in the previous slide you can see I have explained these things. This metallocyclopropane have the highest bond length between the carbon and carbon, because hybridization changes in that case. And when hybridization changes in that case, right, in the metallocyclopropane model, bonding model, so in that case you see here, your metal actually gets oxidized by the 2 units. This metal gets oxidized by the 2 units. This is something very, very important which you should keep in mind. Okay, and in that case you see here hydrogens, actually these hydrogens which are present on the ligands, or the hydrogens which are present on these, they actually slightly go away from here, but they remain in the same plane as same plane in which the ligands of the metals are there. Say for example, I can write ligand 1 here, ligand 1 here. So these ligands and these hydrogen actually they are on the same plane. But in case of this model, if I go back here, in case of this model they are actually slightly go away and they are in the opposite. I have already told you that this alkene system and this part they are in the opposite plane, they are in the different plane. So these bonding things are very, very important to understand. This is how you can differentiate between the two model. I hope these things make these things are quite actually clear to you. So but see guys, you have seen these two models here, right? This Dewar-Chatt and metallocyclopropane model. See whatever the structures actually have been studied, see this is one extreme and this is another extreme, and whatever the structures of the metal carbene complexes have been studied, they have the properties in between them, neither perfectly this and nor perfectly this metallocyclopropane model, but they have the properties in between them. It is very, very important to note that. Okay, again I am emphasizing on this particular point. This is something very, very important, very important. Okay, now I can go for some details actually, and those details are actually I'll help with the help of, I will show you with the help of the example. Say in the next page. Okay, this was the question which has been asked in the previous year CSIR NET examination, and I think this was in December 2018. Okay, so I'll solve this particular question here, and then you are having next question, which is this. So first I will solve this particular problem, and this problem actually has been asked in the June 2018 exam. Okay, this is in June 2018 exam. So what it says, you have been given 3 complexes, so I can draw all of them. Okay, say this is your double bond and 2 of the hydrogens are attached to it. Okay, and they form the complex with this platinum. Basically it's a Jaycees salt. Okay, so you can write chlorine over there, you can write chlorine here, you can write chlorine here, and of course a negative charge, right? So this negative is there. Okay, right? So this is the compound A, and then you are having the second compound, so I can use different color. In that case you are having this 2 hydrogens are attached here in that case. Okay, and you see the platinum is here, this is triphenyl phosphine, this is triphenyl phosphine, these are the ligands, and they connected with this one. Okay, this is how I can show you. So this is your second complex which is neutral, and then you are having the third complex I am drawing here, which is PT, and this platinum is again having the triphenyl phosphine, this is triphenyl phosphine, and then you are having the groups over there, but here you are having the cyanide. This is cyanide, this is cyanide, this is cyanide. Okay, and it is also a neutral one. So what it says that this question says that the correct increasing order of carbon-carbon bond length in the following molecules. So you have to tell the carbon-carbon bond length. See, in that case, if you see here in the Jaycees salt, this platinum is in +2 oxidation state. When it is in +2 oxidation state, it simply means weak back bonding, weak pi back bonding. Here you see in these two cases platinum is 0 and platinum is 0. So if it is A, if it is B, if it is C. Okay, so in that case weak back bonding is quite weak. So in that case the CC bond length would be highest. CC bond length would be highest. So you have to select select the option where actually A is having the highest bond length. Okay, so you have to think in that manner. Sorry, not highest, actually the lowest. Very sorry. very sorry, when back bonding is weak, then CC bond length is the lowest. So why I am saying this one, this you have to understand in that manner. Okay, say this is your platinum connected with the carbon here. Okay, or say what I can do, I can write it in little clear manner, platinum connected with the carbons. Okay, this is how I can write. Two of the hydrogens over there, one hydrogen here and another hydrogen here. So what will happen when the back donation would occur, then electron will go here and then this will come here, somewhere here. So what will happen due to this one, platinum metal bond gets doubly bonded, platinum carbon bonds gets doubly bonded, while other carbon carbon bond converted into the single bond due to this metal bonding, right? So you know it is single and it is double. Okay, and in that case this pi back bonding is weak, while in the two cases back bonding is quite high. Why back bonding is quite high? Because this actually platinum is in the lower oxidation state, zero oxidation state, so it will have actually the more electron density. If the electron density is quite high, so definitely it will form the stronger pi bond, stronger back bonding it will do. When it will do the stronger back bonding, of course this would be more of a platinum carbon bond order would be high and carbon carbon bond order would be low. So obviously this will have the higher carbon carbon bond length when compared to this Jesse salt, and this C will also have the higher bond length. Now this is quite clear. Now you have to go for the option where C is the lowest one, where C is the A is the lowest one. Okay. See now guys, if you see here in these two actually, right, now you have to decide between B and C, which will have the lower carbon carbon bond length, right, in this complexes, right? So on the basis of this zero oxidation state you cannot actually decide. Now important thing is that you can focus on the substituents which actually the two complexes in which the ethylene this ethylene is bearing in the two complexes. Here hydrogens are there, okay, but in the compound C these are the cyanides, and you know these cyanides they are the electron withdrawing groups. They are electron withdrawing groups. So what can happen actually, they actually suck electron density towards themselves, okay, due to this minus I effect. Okay, it is minus I effect I can say, okay, and you can also apply the mesomeric effect. So what it see, due to this electron withdrawing effect, these cyanides actually make this alkene is electron poorer, electron poor. So when it is electron pair, it readily accept electrons, readily accepts electrons. So when it readily accepts electrons, these electrons will go into the anti-bonding molecular orbital, right? You know, if I go back and I can show you this one. See here, cyanide actually made this alkene electron poor, and when the electron actually from electron donation would occur, that electron donation would occur into the LUMO, and LUMO is the anti-bonding interaction, and if it is the anti-bonding interaction, that mean the bond in that case due to this anti-bonding interaction, bond length will increase. Okay, so when bond length will increase, that means this C actually will have the highest bond length. This C will have highest bond length. Okay, so you have to look for the option where C is having the highest bond length and A is having the lowest bond length. So in the option B you can see here this option B is the correct, right? Say A is having the lowest bond length, lowest carbon carbon bond length, and C is having the highest carbon carbon bond length, and it is found that actually say in this particular complex here, this bond length is found that 137 picometer. Okay, picometer I can write. Okay, and for in this complex B it is slightly higher, 143 picometer, and in this last complex it is found that 149 picometer. Okay, so obviously in that case you see this bond length here in that case would be higher, sorry, lowest one. So in that case actually you can see stretching frequency, CC stretching frequency would be higher. CC stretching frequency would be highest, and in that case CC stretching frequency would be lowest. Okay, so this is how you can solve this particular problem if you understand the concept of the back bonding. But see, they may ask the question in the reverse manner. See, in this particular question they have asked the this CC bond length, but what happens if they ask the metal carbon bond length, or you see the simply the platinum carbon bond length? Then the order would be reverse. Okay, in that case you see the order would be reverse. You can apply the concept by your own. I hope this this is clear to you. So what actually simply we can actually summarize from here, right? So I am giving you the some way actually, right? Say I am writing say point 1 here. This would be very helpful for you. Electron donor groups or the ligands on metal. When this happens actually this metal will have the electron donors. So in that case what will happen? Pi back bonding increases. Pi back bonding increases when metal is having the electron donors. See, because these electron donors group will donate the electron to the metal, and metal then back donate to the alkene. So back bonding increases. Okay, when back bonding increases, it simply means metal carbon bond order also increases, and carbon bond order, sorry, I made a mistake, I think. Okay, reduces. I have to write the reduces. See, whenever the electron donors groups are there, it will increase the electron density on the metal. That means the pi back bonding increases, which increases the metal carbon bond order, and CC bond order decreases. And CC bond order decreases. When CC bond order decreases, then definitely the bond length increases, because bond order is inversely proportional to the bond length, right? And electron withdrawing group on the metal will have the reverse effect. And second thing actually which you have seen here, effect of the ligands on the alkene, right? So what I can write? I can write electron donor groups on CC double bond. Okay, when electron donor groups are there, so it will make electron rich alkene. It will make electron rich alkene. So in that case, when donation would be high, and when the donation would be high, okay, donation ability would be high, that means pi back bonding decreases, pi BB decreases. When pi back bonding decreases, it simply means carbon bond length also, back bonding actually decreases in that case. So this is also decreases. So if you remember these things, right? So however, the example which actually I have shown you, this example is the reverse of EDG. This was EWG. So this is having the reverse effect. So if you remember these two things, then it would be very easy for you to solve the problems. I hope see this trick will actually help you. Okay, and see, if you have the EWG, so in case of the EWG on the ligand, the reverse the effect would be the reverse. That means CC bond length will increase, and this is exactly what had happened in case this here, highest bond length. Okay, so this is how you can solve the problems. Now say you are having this particular problem which have been asked in the December 2018 examination. What it says, the ligand that binds strongly to the nickel center, that is nickel in zero oxidation state. Okay, this one you see here in the zero oxidation state. So which metal would which actually will strongly bind? So in that case, you see here what it says, that nickel is 0, that means it is electron rich. It is electron rich, already electron rich. So it will require it will require electron poor ligand for effective binding to minimize the repulsion, you can say here. Okay, because see, when actually the ligand would be electron poorer, the alkene would be the electron poorer, then the effective pi bonding would take place. So in that case, you see here, this first option, it is flanked, this double bond is flanked between the two of this electron withdrawing group. So this is EWG, this is EWG. So this alkene is the electron poorer. So this nickel actually will bind effectively with this one, right? While in that case it is electron poorer, but not that much. The same is true for this one, and this is also. So correct option is the option A. This is something very, very important, right? This is the electron withdrawing groups are very, very important to form the effective pi bonding. It will increase the pi acceptor capacity. So this is something very, very important which you have to keep in mind. Now moving to the next one, say, okay, say guys, you have been given the questions. Actually I have been giving you this some questions. So see guys, before going into the details of the questions, what I can do, okay, I'll do later on. First of all, I'll solve these problems, right? So these problems you can find in the BD Gupta textbook also. So I have actually taken the problems from there only, and the solution of these questions are also there actually. So I will very quickly go to these problems actually. Okay, so what it says that arrange the following compounds in the increasing order of ethylene carbon bond actually. So that means in which complex your carbon bond length would be high. Carbon bond length would be highest only in that case in which the back bonding would be the highest one. So you have to check for the highest back bonding. Okay, for this you have to understand the certain thing. Okay, say in that case you see iron is in +2 oxidation state, while here it is in +1 oxidation state. Here also it is in +1 oxidation state. Here also it is in +1 oxidation state. So it is actually, you see in that case it is the higher oxidation state, electron it is electron deficient. This is electron deficient. That means in that case back bonding would be low back bonding. When back bonding would be low, okay, that means CC bond length would be, in that case, see back bonding is low. That means this CC this carbon bond length actually would be the shortest one. Okay, so B is having the shortest bond length. Okay, now going in these another complexes, you see here, now in all the cases this is +1, this is +1, this is +1. Okay, so now if you check here, here you see triethyl phosphine, this is also triethyl phosphine. They all are what? They are EDG. So electron donating group to the metal. So they will donate electron density to here. So this will be now much more electron rich. When this is electron rich, so that means it will have the highest pi back bonding. Highest back bonding. And when back bonding is the highest, it simply means you will have CC bond length highest. Okay, so D is having the highest one. So if you want, then you can write B is having the lowest one. Okay, later on we will decide between the A and C, and D is having the highest one. Now if you compare these two, again you see it is electron donating group. So here also effective back bonding would be there. When back bonding is quite effective in that case, that means in that case also higher CC bond length. CC bond length would be higher in that case. Okay, when CC bond length higher in that case, so what you can do, you can straightforward write C here. Okay, and you can write A here. So this is the correct order for this one. This is how you can understand. So now moving to the next one. Which among the following alkene will bind most strongly to the metal? Okay, say you have been given these things, right? So this is another very important point. This is cyclooctadiene. So you can write your cyclooctadiene. Okay, in that case you can draw in that manner. And then you are having ethylene, CH2 double bond CH2, and then you are having norbornene. Non-bornene is actually this structure, double bond here, and then you are having cyclohexene. Now this is something very important. So among all these, this is actually highly strained. This is highly strained. When it is highly strained, so actually it will try to give its electron density very readily to the metal, so that it can release the strain, and when the strain is released, this actually norbornene get relaxed. So obviously this will have very high affinity to the metal. So among all these, see, you will remember this particular point: highly strained, cycloalkene forms stable complexes. They form the stable complexes. So in that case, your answer would be this B. So I can actually explain this thing in that manner also. Say you have been given these complexes, right? Say this is your cyclopropene ring, and it is forming the complex with the platinum. This chlorine is trans to this one, and this is chlorine. Okay, and of course -1 is over there. And then you are having second complex. So this was your complex A. Now second complex A, your cyclobutene is forming the complex with the platinum. You are putting chlorine here and one chlorine here and another chlorine here, square planar, remember, again it is negative. And then you are having this a cyclopentane, and it is also forming the complex just like that. Okay, so which would be the most stable complex? Obviously this would be the most stable. This would be the most stable, and this would be the least stable. Why? This cyclopropene actually is the highly strained. I can write it as highly strained. See, when it is highly strained, so it will actually try to donate its electron readily to the platinum, so that it can release its strain. So this is something very important which you have to keep in mind. Okay, and then you see my next problem, what it says: the alkene, okay, this iron complex. Okay, see this guy, this question is quite important. The alkene complex, this N-propene, at low temperature shows 4 peaks in its phosphorus NMR spectrum. Draw the structure of the complex when the sample is warmed. The 4 peaks in the phosphorus NMR spectrum coalesce to 2 peaks with equal intensity. Why actually this happened? Okay, so see guys, again you can explain this thing. Say this is iron in the center, and here you are having PMe. Okay, and then again you are having PMe here and PMe here and another PMe, right? And then it is forming this thing with the propene. This is CH, CH3, this is CH2, right? This is how you can understand. See, now you can focus in this particular point. This propene is actually what? This is your asymmetrical. So there is no question of plane of symmetry. And when if you check the stereochemistry of this one, right? If you check the stereochemistry, so what I can do, I can draw this in that manner. Say these are going backward. Obviously this will also go to the backward, and this is coming forward, and say this is coming forward. So what happens actually, you see this environment for this one, this is different, and this is different for this one due to this rigid and the logged system. This is logged system. Okay, so what happens, the NMR actually shows all the methyls which are present on the as substituent on this octahedral complex. They are different actually, right? So at low temperature it will give 4 peaks in phosphorus NMR. This is due to this unsymmetrical propene. Now what happens if you heat the sample? If you heat the sample, this alkene system starts rotating. This alkene system starts rotating. When it is rotating, so due to this rotation, what can happen actually, these are also changing their position. These two are also changing position, these two equatorial one, and these two axials are also changing their position. And this rotation is quite fast, and NMR instrument is not able to actually detect the difference between all the 4. So NMR instrument observed them as a set of the 2 kinds of the methyl protons, axial and equatorial. That's why it will give only 2 peak at higher temperature. This you have to keep in mind. However, it's a very important question, right? Now next question is what? To which of the following structures will trifluoroethylene bind most and least strongly? Okay, again you see here this trifluoroethylene, which this written here, it is actually what? These fluorines are electron withdrawing. So I can draw here this carbon, double bond carbon, one fluorine is here, then you are having the hydrogen over there, then this is the fluorine, this is the fluorine, and they all are electron withdrawing. They all are EWG. So it will make this electron poor. It will make electron poor. When it is electron poor, it simply means it will try to actually attract the electron density. But you see here this tungsten, right? If I can write here Cr, molybdenum and tungsten, it is actually, this tungsten is 3D. So 3D actually, you know, you have learned in the coordination chemistry also, these 3D metals are very binds very effectively to the metals, right, due to the diffused electron cloud. So the most strongly this tungsten complex will bind more strongly. This is something very, very important, more strongly. Okay, now if you compare the other two, in that case, you see in that case, you see they say here this is binding, this binding is here, and this binding is here. What is the meaning of that? See this binding actually, fluorine, fluorine, fluorine and hydrogen, here also the same thing actually, right? So I am not actually writing over there, these things over there. Okay, and then you see here next thing is what? If you see here titanium in that case. Okay, so titanium, see cyclopentadienyl, that means -1 is here and -2 is here. That means platinum is in +4 oxidation state. When platinum is electron poorer, right? It is electron poorer, and it is also electron, this alkene is also electron poorer due to the fluorines. So it will this third one will bind most loosely. So most strongly bind with the most strongly the metal which is bind more strongly, which is tungsten one, and least strongly, that means the weakly bind, that is the titanium. Okay, so these things are there in the BD Gupta book. You can go through and learn the things from there actually. Say now what is the next? Treated 2 moles of this. Okay. So what the question says that when 1 mole of this complex actually is treated with the 2 moles of the BF3, ethylene is released. Okay, the unusual product consists of this single compound. This is square planar in nature and monomeric also. Formulate the product and explain the bonding. What it says actually. So see what it says, what the question is saying in that case. See, you are having this complex. See, platinum, and you are having 2 electron withdrawing like PPH3, and you are also having the PPH3 over there. Okay, and it is bonded with the alkene. So you can write in that manner. this is carbon, this is carbon, this is CH2, this is CH2. So this is metallocyclopropane. So why actually I jumped to this conclusion that it is a metallocyclopropane? Because platinum is in zero oxidation state, and here in that case metallocyclopropane model will apply in that case. So it is actually what it is electron rich. It is electron rich. That means it is simply Lewis base. It is Lewis base, and you are reacting it with BF3, 2 moles of BF3. BF3 is Lewis acid, so you can write it as Lewis acid. When the reaction happens, what can happen? The electrons attack on the this BF3, and in the reaction this ethylene will evolve quantitatively, and you will have this resulting complex, which is say BF3 and BF3. Here you can write PPH3, you can write PPH3. It's a cis complex. Remember, it's a cis complex. So this is the structure actually. Okay, and see, so in this way actually you can answer this one. So this, you see, BF3, ethylene is quantitatively released. It's I have explained. The unusual product consists of a single compound, right? This is a single compound and is square planar. Of course, it is square planar in nature, monomeric also. Formulate the product. So this is the product, and explain the bonding. Bonding I have explained, right? And also draw the structure of this one. So I have also drawn the structure of this one. So this is how actually you can understand the problems based on these things. Okay, now what the next problem says: in an olefin, if an olefin has to bind to a transition metal, say chromium, which of the olefins, cis cyclooctane or trans cyclooctane? Okay, so you have been given two systems. You have been given, this is cyclooctane, right? Say this is cis, that means 2 of the hydrogens are here, and then you are having the see, this is cis cyclooctane, then you have been given the trans one. So this is your trans cyclooctane, this is the double bond. Okay, so one hydrogen is here. Okay, so this would be like that. Let me correct it, let me redraw it. Okay, so this, okay, fine, and then this, now fine. So this is the double bond. Okay, so this is hydrogen going up, this is hydrogen going down, this is trans, and this trans is actually strained, and it is less strained. So this trans octane will try to release its strain by combining with the chromium. So obviously your trans octane will bind more effectively to the metal to release its strain. Okay, now say it is my last problem. What it says: which of the following metal alkene complexes do you think will most likely form the metallocyclopropane? Okay, so what we can do, we can solve this problem here. Nickel is in zero oxidation state, iron is also in zero oxidation state, so we have to write the configuration. Okay, nickel is 3d8 system, iron is 3d6 system. Okay, so when see, this is electron rich. When it is electron rich, so it will form the more effective. See, it is electron rich, and when it is in electron rich, that means it will form the metallocyclopropane system. So in that case, you see your answer is actually this nickel complex. So this is something very, very important. The important thing is that both are in zero oxidation state, so we cannot differentiate, but nickel is electron rich, so it will actually will look for the metallocyclopropane model. So these are the some of the problems which were there in the BD Gupta textbook, and you may actually find several problems from the different textbooks, and you can solve the problems from there. And see, one thing actually which I have not included in that case, the reactions of your metal alkene complexes. So only one reaction actually I am going to tell you. Say for example, reactions, rest you will check by your own. For example, you have been given Fe and you are having the Cp here, and this is carbonyl, and this is carbonyl over there, and you are having this doubly bonded compound, and it is having the overall positive charge, and then you are trying to react with this PPH3, triphenyl phosphine. So what it will do, you know, due to the Ampoulang nature, these vinyl carbons are positively charged, so this will actually attack on one of the carbon atom, and then your product would be just like that, the Cp ring connected with the iron, okay, then this is your CO, this is your another CO, and when this connected with this one, so this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2, and this is the phosphorus, okay. So when this will combine with this one, okay, so what can happen, say this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2, and this is PPH3, okay. See, if I call it as 3, so this would be as 1, this would be 2, this would be 3. So actually it's a nucleophile which is attacking on the electrophilic. So various reaction which you will find in the textbook, this will goes in that manner also, only okay. So this is how you can understand the transition metal alkene complexes. This topic is very, very important, and you may have the question in your upcoming examination also. So I hope you like the lecture and you understood the concept well. If you are understood the concept well, and if you are liking the explanation, please subscribe the Tetrahedron Chemistry classes and like the video, and do share with your friends also. Okay guys, so that's it for today. Thank you very much.